Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a monumental deep dive into the city of York in England. It's a place where history isn't just, in a museum. It's layered everywhere you look. You have Roman walls right next to Viking markets and these medieval alleys that lead you straight to world-class museums.
Exactly. A listener asked for a guide that goes a bit deeper than the usual tourist checklist. They wanted that shortcut to understanding the thousands of years of history you can literally see on the streets.
And we're synthesizing the sources to give you those essential places, those core insights.
And to really get it, you have to start with the language of the city itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the street names are basically a historical map. York has this unique vocabulary that comes almost entirely from its Viking roots.
It's the linguistic ghost of the Norse settlers.
Mm-hmm.
They call the city Jorvik. So, for instance, in York, you don't really walk down a street. You often walk down a gate.
And that comes from?
It's from the Old Norse word gata, which just means road or way.
Right. And then you have the ancient city walls, which are incredibly well preserved. The fortified entrances, the gates through the wall. Those aren't called gates?
No, they're called bars. Things like Bootham Bar or Monk Bar.
Meaning barrier.
Exactly. A defensive opening. It just clicks once you know that.
But I think my favorite term, the one that really captures the winding, hidden feel of the city, is Snickaway.
Ah, the Snickaways. Yeah, those are the narrow little alleys, passages that weave between buildings.
And the term itself is actually pretty modern, isn't it?
It is, surprisingly. Only from 1983. A local author sort of mashed together two older Yorkshire dialect words. Snicket and gentle.
So it's a perfect linguistic blend then. Ancient and modern, capturing the whole feel of the city.
It absolutely is. And that sets the stage perfectly for a place that's constantly playing with its own timeline.
So let's start with that deepest layer, the Viking Foundation. You really can't understand York without visiting the Jorvik Viking Center.
Jorvik is mandatory, I'd say. What makes it so incredible is that it's built directly on top of the remains of the actual Viking city, Jorvik, from around 95 AD.
And this was from a major archaeological dig.
A huge one. The Coppergate dig in the late 70s and early 80s, it just peeled back the layers on Viking life.
And the story here, which our sources all highlight, is the preservation. I mean, they found something like 40,000 items that should have just rotted away. Timber, textiles, leather.
All perfectly preserved. And it all comes down to the geology. York is built on this wet, oxygen-deprived clay.
So no oxygen means no decay.
Basically. It essentially just stopped the process, preserving all this organic material almost miraculously. It gave researchers an unparalleled look into 10th century life.
And those findings really changed the whole picture of Viking society, didn't they? This wasn't some remote backwater.
Not at all. The sources mention these incredible discoveries. I mean, they found silks that point to trade links stretching all the way to the Byzantine Empire.
Wow.
And maybe even more amazing, they found a cowrie shell.
Which suggests
connections to the Red Sea or maybe the Persian Gulf. This far northern settlement was plugged into a massive global network. It tells you these were sophisticated traders.
Which contrasts so brilliantly with the actual experience of the museum today. It's very visceral. You get on a moving carriage, there are animatronics, Old Norse sounds, and famously, the smells.
Yes, and the sources are very clear. Those smells are pretty bad.
So they're authentic then?
I think so.
Yeah.
The center really leans into that sensory experience. It forces you to confront the reality of urban life back then. It's powerful.
And maybe that's the perfect lead-in to their most famous artifact of all.
The fossilized Viking poo.
The actual fossilized Viking poo. History just doesn't get more real than that.
I think you're right. Now, when you step out of the Viking settlement, you immediately run into another layer. The Roman legacy.
The York City walls.
The longest and best preserved city wall barrier in the entire UK. It's just over 2 miles, or 3.2 kilometers.
And you can walk the whole thing.
You can, and you should. It takes about 2 hours, and you get these incredible views. You really start to see how later builders, the medieval architects, just built on top of the Roman and Norman lines.
So as we move from those defenses, we head into the medieval heart of the city, a place of two real extremes, spiritual awe and brutal reality.
Let's start with the charming bit, the shambles.
Ah, yes. The winding, narrow street. Everyone's seen pictures of it. Timber frame buildings from the 14th century. But its original purpose was less charming.
Much less. The name itself, shambles, comes from an Old English word for slaughterhouse.
So all those quaint hooks you see on the shop fronts now.
Originally for hanging raw meat.
Right.
And the architecture itself was designed for that trade. The way the upper floors hang over the street, that wasn't just for looks.
It served a purpose.
A crucial one. It protected the softer wattle and daub walls from rain, and more importantly, it kept the meat hanging below out of the sun so it wouldn't go rancid.
So that quirky, famous look was born from pure necessity.
Exactly. And then just a stone's throw from that very earthy, practical place, you have the spiritual height of the city, York Minster.
The centerpiece. The largest Gothic cathedral in Northern Europe. It was finally finished in 1472. Just a colossal statement of faith and ambition.
It is. And if you're able, the sources all say you have to do the climb.
The 275 steps up to the central tower.
Yeah, the panoramic view is staggering. You could apparently even spot peregrine falcons nesting up there.
But you mentioned there's a kind of hidden gem inside.
There is. Tucked away at the back, there's the octagonal chapter house. It's from the 13th century, and it has these incredible vaulted ceilings and these perfectly intact carved gargoyles. It's often much quieter than the main part of the cathedral.
The spiritual heights of the Minster then stand in such stark contrast to another key medieval landmark just down the road, Clifford's Tower.
It's a really sobering sight. Clifford's Tower is the ruined Norman keep of York Castle.
And it has a very, very dark history.
It does. The most harrowing event happened way back in 1190. It was the site of a horrific pogrom against York's Jewish community.
The tower was meant to be a refuge.
It was. About 150 Jewish residents fled there from a murderous mob. But when they were surrounded, facing torture and murder, the community chose mass suicide within the tower walls.
It's a brutal, tragic moment in English history.
And the site now stands as this very profound, very somber reminder of that persecution. Visiting it really requires you to acknowledge that dark past.
That complexity where a beautiful city holds these harrowing memories is.
Yeah.
That's why York resonates so strongly. And speaking of preservation, let's move on to the world-class museums here.
Okay, the do not miss list. And at the absolute top has to be the National Railway Museum.
The largest railway museum in the world.
It is. Over 1 million items. And it makes sense. York was a massive railway hub during the Industrial Revolution.
And you can see some true icons there. Queen Victoria's Royal Train, which is just unbelievably opulent. And of course, the Mallard.
The fastest steam engine ever built. Still holds the record.
But there's a fascinating international piece there, too.
There is. They have the only first-generation Japanese Shinkansen, the bullet train that's outside of Japan.
Which is incredible, and admission is free.
Critically, yes. It's incredibly accessible.
That immersive feel continues at the York Castle Museum, which covers more of the city's social and criminal history.
Yeah, they have this amazing rebuilt Victorian street called Kirkgate that you can actually walk down. It's got shops, houses, the whole atmosphere.
It also has the old prison cells.
It does. Where the infamous highwayman Dick Turpin was held before his execution in 1739.
Okay, so we've done Romans, Vikings, the medieval period, the industrial age. Now we have to make a very sharp pivot in time.
A really sharp one. To the York Cold War bunker.
It's an astonishing sight. You go from ancient history to something so recent and terrifying.
It's this semi-subterranean English heritage site, built during the height of the Cold War. Its purpose was to monitor nuclear fallout.
So you can spend the morning walking Roman walls and the afternoon in a blast-proof room.